Don't everybody speak at once.
So Darth, I didn't want to do either of those things, but I had a bunch of questions from last time. I thought maybe you could help give some further elucidation. Is that the word I'm looking for?
Elucidation, good word. Yeah, I'll try to elucidate.
All right. Well, one was you were talking about how extremely unlikely I can't remember if it was life arising or life on Earth, or it was something like that. And I wanted to know if you were using I forget the name of the equation, but like the equation to calculate the likelihood of intelligent life, or
Are you talking
where were
about
you
the
getting
Drake
the
equation?
I think it's the Drake equation. Yes, is that
No,
what you were
no, I
using?
wasn't. No, I wasn't using that. It's a very
Yeah.
complicated thing, but I don't really think that it's really much popularized anymore. I might be mistaken about that, but
The Drake
I don't.
equation or the thing you're using?
The Drake equation.
Oh, okay, okay.
I don't think the Drake equation, and I'm willing to be corrected on this. I don't think the Drake equation from the last time I read it is factoring in the probability of random variation, meaning random mutations, incrementally accumulating and producing the genome. Okay.
Oh. Yeah, I thought it was.
I'm not aware that it was. Okay. So
Well,
as of
I don't actually know. I'm sure the Drake equation may very well have fallen out of favor. I mean, it is pretty old at this point,
yeah, I
right?
think it
So,
involves a lot of Bayesian reasoning.
uh,
I
okay,
the last
so
time I skimmed through the Drake equation, the Wikipedia article on it a couple years ago, and I don't recall them even referring to the complexity and probability of the DNA code. But it did use a lot of Bayesian type of reasoning.
uh, um, Bayesian reasoning. I'll look that up rather than boring the whole
Yeah, I'm not going to do
chat with it.
justice to it, but
Uh,
it has to do with
I
starting with a probability and then developing sub probabilities and then factoring those in. You know,
okay, yeah,
that's a
I think
gross
I'm
understatement of
sort
what
of
it
aware of
is.
this. Yeah, like Bayesian probability.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like what? Okay, yeah, like there was a fake viral video going around, and I think somebody at some point called it like Bayesian probability or something. But it was a fake video. It was like a machine with balls that all went into, they fell into the exact right
Yeah.
places so that they were all sorted at the end.
I'm not arguing that evolution did not happen because of the improbability. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
I have argued for that in the past. I mean, I would refer to like the law of large numbers, things like that. Um, I'm not so strong on that reference as I used to be. Okay. But what I do say
Yeah.
is, uh, given people reason by probabilistically for many things, when it comes to evolution, they abandon that. They don't even care about how unfathomably improbable it is. Right?
Well, evolution has to do with how the variation of life arose. It has nothing to do with the sort of abiogenesis of life.
No, not specifically, but abiogenesis poses the same problem because for the origin of life, you're still going to have certain
Mm.
complex functionality arise, which we can calculate with precision what the working parts of the cell would have to form.
Yeah, and I mean, somebody would argue that it is something like that, like, sort of, I think DNA replacing RNA, J.F. Garapi wrote a whole thing about the revolutionary phenotype where he says it might
Look,
happen again
it,
with this genetic
if you
engineering
talk
we're doing.
if you talk to anyone who actually knows this subject, okay, I'm not claiming that I know it, to pontificate on it. But
Hmm.
if you talk to anyone who really knows this subject well and they're honest, they will tell you they don't have the foggiest idea from a purely materialistic standpoint how life started. Okay. Now, of course, I reject
Okay.
that because I'm a creationist.
Okay. Well, anyway, I think you went on a whole thing. This Dave Garapi guy, he's a I forget the exact term, but he's worked on like research projects. People tried to cancel him because one of them was funded by Jeffrey Epstein. But if you know anything about Epstein, he funded lots of scientific research
Yeah, I
projects.
know he funded something on evolution. I can't remember what that was. I had read
He
that like a
funded
year
tons
ago.
of stuff. Yeah. It was like he was obsessed with it. He wanted
Yeah,
to like
yeah, and he was
breed.
obsessed with underage girls too.
Well, the thing is not just that, like he wanted to like get really beautiful, really smart ones, because they also did like IQ tests on these girls. It wasn't just how they looked. And he was obsessed with like purity, and he had like these racial ideas. If you listen to that one girl who was trafficked by Ghislaine and Maxwell and Jeffrey Epstein. But yeah, it was very much like he was obsessed with like breeding a sort of Ubermensch kind of thing, like a Jewish Ubermensch or something. I don't know. But yeah, um, it's sort of the uglier side of of that sort of thing.
Were you referring to JF?
Yeah, JF got a P. Hello, nice to meet you.
Yeah,
Were you on his show?
no, I debated him, and he actually was totally defeated, and he actually ran away. You
Well,
can
I'll
actually,
look it up.
yeah,
I'll
it's
look it
on
up.
there. Yeah. Oh yeah. He
What was
goes.
sort of the killing blow?
Well, you'll have to watch it. I simply pointed out that whatever he affirms, it has no grounding to it. And then he goes, "I guess I have been BTFO'd," and then he runs away because
Okay.
his usual shtick and patter didn't work on me because I'm not the usual person he would deal with. I'm approaching him in a
Hmm.
presuppositional way, and his usual community college lectures aren't going to work on me. That's why when I encountered at least 8 atheist PhDs, right, if that's the number is correct, by the way,
Mhm.
why their expertise in their given area did not save them from the questions that I asked. Okay.
Okay. So it was the sort of like, how do you justify, what's your argument for like using logic a priori like in the first place, right?
No, I just hit him right between the eyes. How is it that there's no God?
How is it that there's no God?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure I understand that question.
Really, dude?
And how is it that there
You
is
know
no God?
something? You know
Yeah.
something? If Betty White came back from the dead, she would slap you in the face with a wet washcloth for
Why are
such a dumb
you
response like that.
okay? But I really don't understand the question. Like, what do you mean? Like, how is it we have all this beautiful creation with no God, or
Atheism is the denial and disbelief in all gods. Every single one of these
okay,
people that I talked to were self-proclaimed atheists.
okay.
How come you have to
So,
define their own terms for them? Isn't that
what's
like,
that?
how come you have to define their own terms for them? Shouldn't they know the definition of their own worldview? Or
Well, I didn't define the terms for them. I was giving him the definition, the standard
Yeah.
definition of
no, I
Yeah,
meant
atheism.
that's
in
the agreed
general.
upon
In
definition.
general, they always
That's
ask
the
you.
definition. That's the definition we all already have. He was just
Well, the
detailing it
point
for the sake
is,
of argument.
many of them will not stand by. They're adamant at calling themselves atheists, but then they hide behind a descriptor that's indistinguishable from claiming they suspend judgment. So they're not atheists. Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, they are atheists. They certainly believe there is no God, but many of them want to redefine it to insulate themselves from having to defend what they really believe. PZ Myers is a perfect example of that. You know, this
I don't
guy's a
remember PZ
foaming at the
Myers.
mouth.
Who was he
Yeah,
again? Was he
why do you
one of
keep
the
on over
atheist
talking me
experience
when I'm
guys?
speaking? Can you not hear me?
Okay, I was just I remembered PZ
As
Myers.
this is this is shit by vision.
You remember
It's
old
just
PZ Myers? Was he one of the? Oh, Darth. I mean, I don't know, man. You're not being very Christian.
Oh, now you're not being Christ-like because he's over talking you and you don't like that.
why would it be unchristlike for me to mock somebody who is, publicly being abusive to me in a conversation that he wants to talk with me? Why?
Exactly.
Did you know that the apostle Paul said to the high priest, he called him a whitewashed tomb? But then when he found out that he was the high priest, then he apologized because that they weren't to publicly denounce the high priest. But if he had not been the high priest, Paul would have been justified in openly mocking him by calling him whitewashed tomb. Okay? I don't think there's anything unchristlike what I did. I'm simply making a point. He keeps on cutting me off while I'm speaking.
I
And then he
agree.
then he's going, "Oh, yeah, blah, blah." I try to add a little bit of humor to be entertaining. Okay.
Hey, Darth, what I've heard you quote before the founder of agnosticism. I don't know what the quote was, but you
No,
usually
I
oh,
said the inventor of the term,
okay.
T.H. Huxley.
Yeah, I've heard you quote something before of him when
Yeah,
talking with atheists.
the definition of agnostic.
Okay, yeah, what was that? Could you tell me, please?
Yeah, let me pull it up here. T.H. Huxley said, he said, agnosticism simply means that a man shall not say that he knows or believes that for which he has no grounds or scientific grounds for professing to know or to believe. So the term was originally coined to encapsulate all forms of belief, including knowledge, which is a subset. But, we have these troglodyte atheists who, are trying to commit the etymological fallacy that agnosticism only refers to knowledge rather than belief. And it's a really piss poor embarrassment for them. They're just, I mean, it's just incompetence. Okay. Agnosticism can be represented. Um, it's typically representative saying, I don't know whether God exists or not, but usually the knowledge there incorporates belief as well. Okay. But agnosticism does not refer to not knowledge to the exclusion of belief. So agnosticism could be summed up as the claim to suspend judgment as to the proposition that God does or does not exist. So, do we have any atheists, any unbelievers?
I'm not an unbeliever, but I was just wondering for your opinion on Catholic schools teaching about evolution and things that Catholics don't.
Yeah, well, the Catholic Church, in my view, being a Bible believing Christian, is a cult. It teaches a false gospel. They have an extra biblical source of authority. And we shouldn't be surprised that they would capitulate, they would compromise the word of God, as they have in other things, to the modern consensus that random chance, followed by step survival, is why we're here. Okay. They're just being
Okay,
gullible. They're just being gullible. Now, Pope John Paul II, and as well as the Catholic Church, have categorically stated that the theory of evolution is perfectly compatible with Catholic theology. Okay. Now,
I have
it's
I have a
it's
question.
not compatible with biblical theology.
Okay, so if this is true, then no, saying like what like Christian branch are you talking about? That just the Bible is like true, or like just like Christian like Catholics isn't reliable and there's another Christian branch that is.
Okay, my position is everything that the Bible affirms to be true is true. Whatever the Bible speaks in terms of literal language is to be understood literally until there's compelling internal reasons that it should be understood figurative, as opposed to the idea that there's some popular view about the past. We then use that as a filter to interpret whether something in the Bible is literal or not. Well, this is now subjecting the Word of God to the wisdom of men because it's very popular. It's at some generation in time. Okay, so
So,
the cat. Yeah, go ahead.
you're not like Christian or anything. You just believe in the Bible, right?
I am a Christian, and the only kind of Christian you can be, and that is that you're born again. You've come to the realization that you're under the wrath of God. You're a guilty sinner before God, and there's nothing that you can do in this lifetime in terms of your performance that's going to tip the scales when you die, and God's going to let you into heaven. The only way that you can escape damnation is to recognize that you are going to hell right now, that you are doomed, and if you acknowledge your doom, can you then from that turn to God and ask him to save you and trust Jesus Christ as your savior, not trusting in any good works or performance in the future to get you into heaven? But the Catholic Church teaches a works gospel, and their adoptive and evolution is just another further compromise.
Darth
Okay.
Dawkins.
I'm listening.
How many people estimated do you think is Christian, like in the whole entire world?
Well, according to the Bible, of course, the annals of history, there will be a minority of people who are ultimately saved. Now, all right, I'll be back in a couple minutes.
Okay, thanks.
Hello.
Hey, bro.
What's up, guys? How we doing?
I don't know. We're just waiting for him to come back.
Yo, what's up, guys? What's up, guys?
What's
I'm
up,
back.
man? What's up, guys?
What's up, bro?
How we doing? How we all
How's
doing?
how's everybody
Pretty
doing
good.
right now? You know,
I'm doing pretty good. How are
Good.
you guys?
I'm pretty good. How are
I
you?
just bust
Yeah, how
down
are you
some
guys? I'm pretty
empanadas.
good. How are
You
you?
know, I'm doing real.
Oh, he was muted.
It was nice. You guys are fellowshipping like that. It's almost like church. There's a time in a lot of churches where they have fellowship. You know, it's fellowship time, guys, and everybody pretty much does exactly what you guys did.
Yeah,
Okay,
like
I'm back. Go ahead.
so Darth, I've been like a Catholic my whole life, and I was just wondering, like,
Wow,
what should
that's a long time.
what do you expect me to do? Not like what do you expect me to do, but what would you do if you were in my position?
Okay, do you have a dollar store near you?
I think.
Okay, why don't you go in there and ask them if they have those cans of spray that squirt out like these strings. You know, they come in different colors.
Silly
that
string?
Yeah, silly string. Ask them if they have like 2 cans of silly string, and go to your local Catholic church and run up to the priest and just spray him with the silly string while he's. Okay, that's what I want you to do.
That sounds good.
Okay.
I don't think so.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know.
Yo, Darth, can I ask you a question, bro?
And then yeah, in a second. And then when the silly string runs out, I want you to put both fists in the air and go woohoo, woohoo 10 times, and then run down the aisle saying the Pope is a dope. The Pope is a dope.
You gotta film it too, though. You gotta film it. So.
Yeah, have somebody film it too.
Come on.
And then give me the link on YouTube so I can watch it. That's what
My
I want
mom
you to
will
do.
beat me so hard.
You know,
Yo,
when I was a kid, I went to church, and we're sitting in the balcony, and I was there with one of my brothers and some of our other neighbor friends, and you know, as brothers can be, sometimes they're not so nice, and so he was making a paper airplane out of the bulletin, and he was fooling around, and he was pretending like he was gonna throw it. Well, it accidentally went out of his hand, and it sailed out over the congregation and landed right in front of the priest. And the priest stopped the service and started yelling and pointed to my brother and said, "You get out!"
What happened after that?
Nothing. But much to my joy, he got kicked out of church, which I thought was funny as a kid.
Isn't that like not supposed to happen? Like, isn't the church supposed to like be able to receive everyone? That's literally they just contradict what they
No,
teach.
no. If you're going to come in and you're going to be disorderly, you,
Well, yeah, that makes sense.
you should kick them out. Okay, even in the New Testament, there are certain disorderly actions that can get you permanently kicked out of the local thing. But the Catholic Church is not a Bible believing church. So what would I have you do? Well, if you're a minor and your parents insist that you go to church there, I would abide by your parents' wishes. And then when you become a legal adult, I would, or even before them, I would, if you're still in the residence with them, if you become a Bible believing Christian, then what I would suggest you do is not preach to them, because parents are resistant to being corrected, especially about their religion. What I would then do is I would gradually start attending a local Bible believing church, and if your parents inquire about it, I would be as polite as possible and explain to them that you now believe the true gospel, which is genuine repentance, that you believe you're a sinner before God, you're going to hell, and no amount of good works or church attendance is going to save you, and only by recognizing that you have spiritual rabies, you're a sinner, and turning to Jesus Christ is going to have your sins forgiven. But you have to bend over backwards to be polite, diplomatic, because a lot of times parents will take it as a personal criticism if you criticize the church that they brought you up in.
The thing is that my dad So he's not from. He's like his family believes in this religion that basically believes in God and everything. It's called, well, I forgot. That doesn't really matter. But he doesn't really believe in any of that. He just believes that God is real. He's probably going to go to hell. And he doesn't attend mass or anything. And he's like trying to be a better person.
Well, everybody's on their road to hell, whether you go to church or not, whether you believe in God or not. Coming to believe in God or going to church is not going to make somebody escape going to hell. What will give you the escape is if you come to the realization you're a dead man walking, that when your heart stops, you are going to hell. Only by agreeing with God that you are going to hell can you escape going to hell. Only by realizing that you're infected with rabies can you be saved from rabies. Okay? And then once we recognize that we're under the wrath of God, we can then turn to Jesus Christ and ask him to be our savior, not trusting in any works or performance in the future. And when you do that, God will forgive your sins, not because you deserve it. Nobody deserves it, but because he's good. And people who trust in their performance to get into heaven, they're going to be doomed just like everybody else.
Okay,
Yo,
so
Doc, can I ask you a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
So I had a conversation earlier today with some Muslims on this server, and we were discussing the capital punishment in Islam for apostasy. And one of the Muslims made the claim that in Christianity there is also a notion that you should kill an apostate. So I want to ask you, is that true? And then my second question is there any concept of virgins in the Christian paradise?
I would
Thank you.
just ask him. I'd say, what brand of bong are you smoking?
I became an atheist because I
Yeah.
thought the position was true. I left atheism because I realized
Mr. Glock, why are you playing that on your microphone? Okay.
excuse me?
Hold on a second. Okay.
Okay.
So, no, there isn't. I mean, there were aberrations in church history, like the Spanish Inquisition, that would persecute people who were heretics. But this was this was not widespread. But you see, it's not commanded in the New Testament. That we're not
Yeah,
commanded to kill heretics, but in Islam, they are commanded to kill heretics.
yeah. I mean, I would assume if there was like a Bible verse where Jesus Christ said, kill the apostates, kill the heretics, they would have a strong case, such as in the Hadith, where Muhammad quite clearly says that you should kill anyone who changes his faith, right? Um, very messed up stuff that they blatantly lie about, like Christian theology and stuff
I've
like
never
So many
listened to
experts
me.
on Islam here.
I have never talked with an honest Muslim. Okay.
that. Same.
Okay. They're dishonest in varying degrees, but they're always dishonest. It's just like the same thing with atheists. They're all dishonest. Some are less dishonest than others, but they're all dishonest.
I want to ask you one last question. I really appreciate your answer. So I'm an Eastern Orthodox, right? I'm when I was younger, I used to go to church and stuff like that. I know you're a Protestant. What's your take on the Eastern Orthodox Church?
I consider the Eastern Orthodox Church a cult in the same way that I consider Catholicism. Eastern Orthodoxy is the historical result of merging Greek philosophy with Christian theology. Okay. I'm going to send you a book right now. Thank you.
Sure. I mean, I live in a Protestant country. I go to a Protestant church. It's not that I'm
Oh, so
bound by my.
you're not Eastern Orthodox.
I am. I mean,
Hold on.
I'm a Christian at the end of the day. I was born into an Eastern Orthodox family, but I've visited Protestant church. I've been in the Buddhist temple, right? I mean, I
Okay,
like exploring various faiths, right? I mean,
I sent
it's good.
you a book. Is Eastern Orthodoxy Christian? Okay, that's by the late Robert Morey. That's it's not a comprehensive analysis, but it's a beginning analysis, and it's very devastating against Eastern Orthodoxy. Okay, it's in
Right.
your DM.
Yeah, I looked at it. I'm not here to discuss various your ideology is the truth, my ideology is the truth. I don't. For me, what's important for me is that I follow and learn from the teachings of Jesus Christ. That's what's important
Right,
for
but
me.
what's important is that once we become more familiar with what the New Testament teaches, then it will make us keenly aware of the counterfeits around us. Okay,
Mhm.
so there are counterfeit churches, the liturgical churches, the non-liturgical churches. Okay, um, if you were just to randomly select a church, just in terms of probability, more often than not, you're not going to be in a Bible believing church. Okay? Only a minority of churches are Bible believing and Bible consistent in terms of their teaching. I mean, it's getting so bad in some churches that they're glorifying transvestites. They're even in some churches. I've heard recently they're
What?
ordaining some trannies. Transvestites.
What?
So what's your take on I mean, I live in Orthodox country. Sorry, a Protestant country. Um, I mean, I you probably know of many Scandinavian countries that have literally, I mean, gone far away from Christian teachings. What's your take on that? I mean, now that you have mass immigration into Europe, many predominantly Muslims that are entering Europe, they are building their mosques, preaching
I
their
I I
ideology.
I think this open door policy is a kind of suicide pact for Europe.
In what way? Listen?
Yeah, because the Muslims will outbreed them, and then they will gain a sizable plurality, and then they'll join as a voting bloc with the wacko leftists, and it will ultimately be the demise to the non-leftists. Okay,
Yeah,
look, Muslims are bent on world domination. Now, some Muslims will emigrate just because they want a better life. They want to get the hell out of these Muslim-controlled countries. But a lot of Muslims just don't give it up, and they're bent on keeping it, right?
I
A
know,
lot of
like
them want
man,
to
bright
produce
future.
Muslim enclaves, like I think what is it in Michigan? They have one.
yeah. It's called. Wait, I know which one you're talking about. Dearborn,
Yeah,
Michigan.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I've seen
You
that.
know, Islam does not want freedom of speech. It doesn't want freedom of religion. Okay,
Yeah,
their ultimate goal is for Islam to control the state, rather than from a biblical position. We want the state to act as a proxy for good, for righteousness, and to punish evil, and that the state will be informed by Christianity, in terms of ethics, but not that Christianity controls the state, whereas Islam wants to control the state.
yeah. I mean, I live in Sweden. We have various enclaves here as well, and it's this beautiful country is literally going to shit because of the open door policy that the leftist
Yeah, yeah,
movement has
yeah. And
followed.
ever since, and listen, I had former neighbors who were Muslim. Okay, they're from Egypt. They were wonderful people. Okay,
Yeah,
um, they had nice kids, no problems, and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of Muslims are. I'm not saying they're violent, but if you look at the Muslim immigration into Europe, there's
yeah,
a spike in violence.
yeah, yeah, for sure. I mean, I had a conversation with a Kurdish girl, born and raised in Sweden, very secular. And as soon as I brought up an issue, a moral issue with Muhammad's life, for example, where Muhammad there was a vigilante who murdered his wife because she slandered Muhammad. She, spoke ill of him. So this man murdered his wife, and Muhammad said there will be no retaliation for her blood, basically. And I asked her, "What do you think about this?" She said, "Well, in my opinion, Muhammad is a red line. You should not cross. You should not insult him." And mind you, this is a secular, moderate Muslim, basically saying,
that's because it's brainwashed into them. You dare not besmirch the prophet.
yeah,
The funny thing is, do you remember the was it the Charlie
Hebdo, yeah.
Hebdo? I mean,
Yeah.
how stupid were these people? Okay, I mean, how dumb do you have to get that they think that an armed guard is going to protect them from some of these Muslims that are zealous in all capital letters, right? And they did exactly what I would have predicted that they did. That a couple of them will get some AK-47s and they're going to come in and they're going to mow them all down, and that's exactly what happened.
Alhamdulillah, Islam will win.
Yeah, I didn't understand a word you said.
Yeah.
I'm all for criticizing Muhammad, but
Yeah.
when you openly mock Muhammad in certain areas, you could just expect they're going to kill you.
Yeah.
But you see, they were really crossing the line, because as much as I agree that it's okay that Muhammad is fair game to be criticized, they were depicting Muhammad in. I mean, Muhammad can be faulted by and be accused of being a pedophilia because of his marriage to Aisha, but they depicted him engaging in all sorts of aberrant sexual behavior on the covers of their publications. I mean, do you not realize that is just going to inflame people who are prone to kill you?
So they were just being like edgy, like they weren't actually trying to make a point.
That's beyond. Okay, that's beyond edgy, sir.
Yeah.
I mean, for example, before some of you were even born, okay, when I was a teenager or in my early 20s, there were artist exhibition in New York City where this absolute pervert homosexual would do these disgusting art displays blaspheming Jesus Christ. I won't even tell you what he did. I mean, it was just so repugnant. But you see, he was never attacked by Christians. Okay, they saw it for what it was: a guy who's just a sexual deviant and a reprobate, and he wants to. He basically was an artist. He's just a troll. Okay, that's all he was. And the stuff that he didn't even have any artistic value. Right? But he didn't fear being machine gunned. But those guys at Charlie Hebdo, I mean, I could have, I would have just said, you know what? I even thought this. You don't do stuff what they did, which a lot of the depictions of Muhammad were just simply not true. They were now listen, Muhammad was a bloodthirsty killer. Okay, that's fair game. But when you depict Muhammad in engaging in bestiality and all this other stuff, you're just asking for the unhinged Muslims to come and kill you with machine guns.
Yeah, well, I mean, there was a French teacher. I don't know if you've heard of Samuel Paty. He basically had a class, and he was talking about like various French, egalitarianism, secularism, all of this, and he showed a picture of Muhammad about and it wasn't like a very insulting picture. It was more of a cartoon caricature of Muhammad, basically not engaging in any type of like bestiality or anything. He was just showing that this picture caused a lot of controversy. He was basically talking about the picture. And right after the lesson, there was this Chechen guy who slashed him with a machete and like literally chopped his head off. I mean, I think the best way we can counter this radical, dangerous, filthy ideology that is Islam is to criticize it, and we should be able to criticize it and make fun of it and ridicule it. I mean, Muhammad was, I would call him a dog, but I don't want to insult dogs, right? I mean, Muhammad is literally the filth that I walk on.
Now, do you think, because a lot of these, I mean, like you said, a lot of these Muslims, they've immigrated from, societies where all they know is Islam. Do you think maybe after a generation or two that their descendants will get like mellowed out by
Yeah.
Well,
like Europeans?
some of them, but
Yeah.
you have to understand that that's only going to be for some of them. It's
Mhm.
not
Yeah.
like other immigrants to the United States. You have to understand, Islam is the cult of a 7th century Arab. Okay, that's all it
Yeah.
is. Okay, and so it's not like, let's for example, in the United States, we, in years gone past, before we had this massive invasion over the last 10 or 20 years of illegal aliens, the Hispanics who would emigrate to the United States, after several generations, they, other than their last name maybe being Gomez or whatever, they just assimilate. They're just almost indistinguishable from other, let's say, white Americans, if you will.
Mhm.
But Islam is not. It's not like that. Okay,
Mm.
it's not like other religions.
I mean, I would like to subscribe to the notion that, as time progresses, that Muslims will become more moderate. But I mean, we just saw what happened with ISIS, right? I live in probably the most open and egalitarian country in the
And you
world,
know
right? I live
what?
in Sweden.
Yeah, good that you mentioned that. So the guy, one of the
Yeah.
guys behind ISIS, what was his name? Was it al-Baghdadi?
Yeah.
Yeah. So George W. Bush told Barack Obama, do not remove the American forces that remain quickly, because there will be mass bloodshed. Well, Barack Obama removed them as quickly as he could, and as exactly as George Bush predicted, there was tens of thousands of people were slaughtered by ISIS. Okay, Barack
Yeah.
Obama referred to ISIS as the JV team. Okay, I mean, this just goes to show you, this guy not only should have been the president of the United States, he shouldn't be running even a local McDonald's. Okay, the community organizer from Chicago.
Yeah, sure.
And he called them the local JV team. Well, Donald Trump took these guys seriously when he came in. And you know what he told his generals? He said, I want you to draw up military plans. And I want you, when they're all done, I want you to annihilate them. Annihilate them. And that's
Yeah.
exactly what Donald Trump did. If
Yeah,
you go onto
I
the
actually like
internet,
Donald Trump. Yeah, sorry.
yeah, if you go onto the internet, there's actually a video when ISIS was on the run. They were holding up on a kind of a long island, right, um, in Iraq, and we knew where they were. So the military dropped precision guided bombs. They're called JDAMs, in a grid pattern. Okay, on the island. Okay, now the island was not inhabited by other people, but they fled there as a holdout. You can actually see the video where the JDAM bombs were hitting in a grid pattern. Boom, 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 like you're dropping bombs, like putting checkers on a checkerboard.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine that almost anybody survived that. And so he wiped them all out. And he also killed al-Baghdadi. And what I love, I was not a supporter of Donald Trump. I didn't want to be the nominee. I thought he would be liberal. He would be a rhino, but he turned out not to be.
Yeah.
And I loved it where he comes out and, look, he's imperfect. Sometimes he's bombastic. Sometimes he says things that he shouldn't say. There are sometimes I say things I shouldn't say, but I loved it when he came out and he said, al-Baghdadi died like the dog that he was. Okay.
Based.
Yeah. And the fact that he turned General how was his name? Soleimani.
Oh, yeah. Mhm.
He turned him
Soleimani, yes, the
yeah,
Iranian. Yeah.
Soleimani. The fact that Donald Trump turned him into dog food all over the tarmac at the airport, just I'm sorry. Donald Trump could come and spit in my face, and I would say anything else, Mr. President. I mean, the fact that he killed that mass murdering psychopath who killed hundreds and hundreds of American soldiers. The fact that Donald Trump turned him into dog food on the tarmac. I'm sorry. That I was very happy about that.
Yeah.
And did you see the Iranians did a video depicting doing a drone attack killing Donald Trump, and Joe Biden's government made no public statement about this?
No, I didn't even see that.
Yeah,
That's
look it
crazy.
up. It's disgusting.
Yeah. I don't like Joe Biden. I mean, he admitted on like live TV that he's a Zionist, so I don't expect too much from him. I mean, although you have to get the
Well,
green
I'm
stamp from OPEC.
well. You may not like me because I'm very pro-Israel. Okay.
I am pro-Israel as well, right? But if you say you are a Zionist, right, then you will also always have Israel's interest first, right? Donald Trump actually had America's interest first.
I mean, come on. Donald Trump put his money where his mouth is, and he moved the embassy to Jerusalem. And don't you love it? When he moved the embassy, he didn't have hundreds of millions of dollars spent for a new embassy. He did it on the cheap because he's a real estate developer. Not that the embassy itself was cheap, but they didn't waste hundreds of millions of dollars when he, being a real estate and building developer, knew how to do it.
Yeah.
I agree with all you're saying. It was a very good thing that happened with that terrorist guy, and also with
Which one, Al
Israel.
Baghdadi?
Yeah, well, how he took care of him. Yeah,
he died like the dog that he was.
yeah.
No, you're talking about Soleimani now.
I was very
Okay,
happy
fine.
about Israel too. Jerusalem, the headquarters being moved. That was a very good move. 70 years it took, but that's good.
It took way too long.
That's a lot of things in politics. Like, it took way too long, but then when Trump got in, it actually got done. And you can look to a lot of things that when Trump got in, they were taking like so super long to even be like passed through, and then he comes in and then bam, 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 like they're all getting slammed through. Because
you know why? It's because
he's no nonsense.
He's a businessman. He's a real estate developer, and he builds skyscrapers. And when he wants something done, he says, "I want this done." Okay,
and he'll get on you about it too.
And if you don't get it done, he will remove you, and he will put in somebody who will get it done. Look, is Donald Trump perfect? No, but the point is, I'm totally blown away how I was pleased with most of his policies. Okay. I don't agree with everything.
The only thing I can criticize him on, and this is me being reasonable, is the way that he like talked, right? Is like, but that's because he wasn't a politician, and that's what I like about him. He had that aura about him that whenever he did talk, you could sense that he was a human. All these other politicians, all they sound like is just robots, lack of emotion, lack of humanity. All they care about is just furthering, and you could tell that he cared. He actually cared. Most people don't want to see Donald Trump. Most people don't want to see it because they accept the narrative of the left-wing media, that the message they're perpetuating, that he was this racist, awful man. He literally hired a black woman on the spot. Now, if that's racist, then
this is the left's go-to thing. Donald Trump has been a New Yorker his whole life. There's never been one scintilla of evidence that he's a racist, but the moment he becomes a successful Republican politician, then they immediately pull out the racism charge. The left is disgusting. Anyway, let's move the discussion back to atheism versus theism, Christian theism, unbelief, evolution versus creation. Okay, so we have any atheists in the room who want to explain why your atheism is worthy? Because we're few and far between. we're getting harder and harder to find, because I think that there's a syndrome that when you become an atheist, your testicles shrink down really, really small. Okay. But then when you get on a YouTube outlet and you take phone calls and you can ramrod the conversation any way you want, then their testicles grow really, really big into big brass balls. But when they're on a level playing field, their testicles shrink down really, really, almost imperceptibly small. Why is it that we don't see these atheist talking heads that we see all the time on YouTube ever popping up on Discord? Why? We don't see that, do we?
There was about like 10 of them talking right when you left, like an hour or two ago. They all started talking
After I
crap
left.
about you.
After I left.
Yeah, there was about like 10.
Well, that's
maybe
a strange
15
medical phenomenon, and I think the government really needs to research this, because those kinds of people, they got teeny tiny little small little testicles, but the moment I leave the room, their testicles turn into brass basketballs. So we have to come up with a name for this phenomenon, okay?
Canadian Catholic.
Why are you mentioning him?
I just wanted to remind everybody that he exists.
Yeah, he's a loser.
He's weird. What about this venerable geek guy? He's got an atheist logo as a profile picture.
And he's pro-choice or pro-murder, whatever you call it.
Yeah, it's hard to find adult and intelligent minding unbelievers and atheists to deal with, okay? It's very difficult.
What about this Darth Foreskins guy?
Oh, it's just another troll, okay? Imagine what his mommy and daddy would respond if they knew this is what he was doing in public, okay?
Actually, look at his roles. He looks pretty based.
I should have been paying closer attention. I didn't realize it got unmuted.
What goose?
I just said I should have been paying closer attention. I didn't realize it got unmuted.
How come nobody's talking?
Because the unbelievers in here are cowards.
Come on, venerable geek. I know you can talk. These are probably a bunch of people we've already talked to and don't wish to talk to them any further.
Darth Foreskin said he'll talk.
Did he?
Oh, he just changed his name.
And he deafened himself.
No, he just changed
No,
his
he
name.
didn't deafen himself. He's server deafened.
He changed his name to Big Sky now.
Are you watching the convoy at all of this happening in Canada?
A little bit.
It must be annoying to live in central Ottawa right now.
And Justin Trudeau, who's not even fit to run a local McDonald's, is depicting people protesting their egregious policies as though these are dangerous people to Canadian government.
Yeah, his speeches are pretty extremist.
He doesn't look. He's so extreme. He just doesn't even know how extreme he is. This is a piece of garbage who publicly shed tears when Fidel Castro died. Okay, Fidel Castro, that monster.
It looks just like Fidel Castro did when Fidel Castro was young.
Did you hear what he had signed into law?
The anti-gay conversion thing.
That's the one. The LCC
Yeah.
is a little nervous about that one.
What, is against the law in Canada to try to talk someone out of being gay?
Yeah, if you're yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, what's scary about it is it would probably also include preaching against open homosexuality.
Well, it shouldn't surprise us. This is the way the left is going, and if the Democrats retain power, if the Democrats continue to steal and cheat elections, and they gain power in perpetuity, vastly worse things are coming down the pike. Other than that, okay, that's just the beginning. Look at what they did to that couple in Oregon, where they refused to make a wedding cake for lesbians because it violated their religious convictions. They were fined $135,000. Okay. Now, fortunately, a couple of years later, it was overturned. Okay. They had to close down their business. So, the LGBT alphabet soup mafia just doesn't want to live and let live and not be left alone. They want to persecute people almost in any way they can get away with it if we do not fall down and accept their sexual deviancy and fetishes. Oh, where are all the mature, intelligent atheists? Where are they?
On TikTok.
No, please. I think it's so funny. Matt de la Bloviator says, even if Jesus Christ were real, I still wouldn't worship him. Well, we now know why, because Matt admits that he's dating a male homosexual transvestite.
Does Matt deny the historical existence of?
I don't know if he's a mythicist, but if you come across one of these YouTube atheists and they're mythicists, you have to be really dumb to promote that. I mean, it's just really, really dumb.
Well, that's the way modern historical criticism is going. I mean, in the universities, they're casting doubt on large swaths of historical events.
Yeah, like the royal families in Europe were black.
What?
I don't know. That's where they're probably going to go next.
I mean, I've seen people try to depict, Julius Caesar as black, but
wait a minute. Well, wait a minute. What about Michael Jackson? Isn't he the king of pop? Right?
Oh, yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Do you know what that pop stands for? It's pedophile on a pedestal. I was surprised the other day when I was reading some movie news. Did you know that they were going to remake Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Did everybody know about that movie, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang? Oh, come on. Tell me you guys don't know about that movie.
I watched it when I was younger, but I forgot what it was about.
Yeah, so for those of you who don't know, Dick Van Dyke was an inventor, and he built this car, and it had the capability of floating and flying and things like that. And they ended up in a country where they were trying to kidnap the car, and it was a country where they wouldn't allow children, and then they had somebody who would get the children and put them in jail and all that. Well, they were planning on doing a remake, and they had signed Michael Jackson to play in the movie, but unfortunately he died before they could film the movie. But the part he had, he was going to be the child catcher.
Are you serious?
Are you
Nah,
serious?
he's making a joke, right? I don't know if it's a joke or not.
You know what's amazing? The evidence of his pedophilia is so overwhelming. Why anybody would proclaim themselves to be a fan is just beyond me. Okay, since we don't have any atheists with reasonably sized testicles, does anybody have any questions about how you respond to an atheist?
Well, I mean, I was gonna ask if you wanted to continue our conversation from earlier about
What were we talking about?
we were talking about you thinking that the Earth was 6,000 years old and 8,000 years old, and we were talking about the Ice Age.
Yep.
So I just, if you want to continue that, we can.
Sure. Go ahead.
So yeah, I think last time we left off, we were talking about how, like, if an asteroid impact of a certain size would impact, or were to impact, in a hypothetical scenario that would increase the temperature briefly and then decrease it. And I was asking you if you thought that that would have been some sort of proof as related to, like, an asteroid impact that could have triggered the Ice Age. So I just wanted to, like, know if you thought.
I don't think that an asteroid impact would trigger an ice age, unless, of course, you want to suggest that it would kick up a large amounts of sediment that would float in the atmosphere and would block, the sun, to a certain degree, just like certain volcanic eruptions have done that.
Okay. So, I'm guessing also then you don't think that there was a dinosaur impact asteroid that killed the dinosaurs, I mean?
No. I think that the vast fossil beds that we find, and if you actually look at it, I was watching a documentary today, and they show where most of the dinosaur fossils are found, and they're found, the majority of them, they're found in a certain pattern in North and South America. See, to me, this is consistent with the worldwide flood, that they were all buried very rapidly, with the flooding, the recurrent flooding from tsunamis, from the massive earthquakes, from the rapid movement of tectonic plates as opposed to slow movement. See, there's not a dispute over the data. There's a dispute over the interpretation of the data. But you see, the old earthers out there and the pro-evolutionists, they will not tolerate their dogma being questioned unless it's fine-tuning and tweaking within the dogma.
Okay. So then you would think that the dinosaurs went extinct because of a great flood? Or instead of the
think the
impact?
dinosaurs went extinct because those dinosaurs that went on board the Ark, when they were released, did not reproduce in sufficient numbers over a period of time until they went extinct. We have certain. Where do you think, from a biblical perspective, that these mythological representation of dragons came from? Do you think that they're entirely just a vivid imagination? No, this is probably a holdover from, some dinosaurs remaining in the wild, but eventually went distinct. And then certain of these dinosaurs were caricaturized, like flying dragons, things like that.
Wait, so you think there were dinosaurs on the Ark?
I think that there were dinosaurs living in certain parts of the world, maybe not dispersed all throughout it like some animal kinds. I think based upon the flood remains that we have, that a number of the dinosaur populations were all congregating in a certain region. There's a pattern to it in the burial path.
Okay, that's not exactly answering my question. I asked if you thought there were dinosaurs on the Ark, not if there were dinosaurs
Oh, I'm sorry,
on
I
other
didn't
parts
hear
of the
Ark.
continent. at the
Yeah,
time.
I do, but I don't think they were grown adults. I think they were small.
All right, when you say dinosaurs, you mean like T-Rexes and Triceratops, not like actual modern birds, right?
No, I'm talking about dinosaurs. Okay, but I don't think that Noah brought full-grown adults of the large animals. There wouldn't be a need to.
Okay.
And in fact, he wouldn't need to bring even all the current species on the earth. All he would have to bring are the basic kinds out of which as a result of reproductive speciation, you would develop different variants of a kind. Okay, because the information for the various deviations of the kind or the speciation are already inherent within the genetic code.
Okay, so you're saying then that dinosaurs.
You dropped out.
So you're saying then that dinosaurs and modern land mammals were on the same ark at the same time period.
Yes.
So dinosaurs and mammals were living at the same time?
Yes.
So there were lions and cheetahs when T-Rexes were roaming the planet.
Yes.
You do realize that dinosaurs.
But you have to understand.
Dinosaurs
Listen,
came before
yeah.
mammals.
Okay, that's that all you're just simply doing is you're recapitulating a retrodiction of the past that I and other biblical creationists, we don't accept that retrodiction. We accept the retrodiction that God gave.
Well, what's that retrodiction that God gave? The dinosaurs and mammals were living at the same time?
Yes.
So where are the dinosaurs now?
All right, look, let me explain something to you, okay? Unless you are motivated to really study evolution, and you're motivated to study very strong criticisms of the entire system, especially by those who are credentialed, who have degrees in that area, in all likelihood, you're not going to be able to differentiate between what are facts and what are interpretations of the facts. Okay? You're going to think that the interpretation of the facts is actual scientific data when you read certain textbooks or you watch certain documentaries. Okay?
Okay.
Like, for example, do you know who Neil deGrasse Tyson is?
Yes, I'm well aware of who he is.
Okay, Neil deGrasse Tyson says, they ask him, what is one of the most profound things that causes you amazement on a regular basis as an astronomer? And he said, well, he says the answer to that is that we are stardust. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Now, is that a scientific statement?
That world from stardust?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That would be yes.
Okay. Well, the answer is it's not.
It's not?
It's a materialistic retrodiction masquerading as science. Okay. And it doesn't even measure up to Neil deGrasse Tyson's own standard for truth. Neil deGrasse Tyson says there's three kinds of truth. There's objective truth, personal truth, and political truth. Objective truth is discoveries that can be replicated anywhere in the world by different people using the same kind of equipment to come up with the same results. Okay, he calls that objective truth. Okay, Personal truth is what you just personally believe is the case. Political truth is just what the powers to be in any given culture or government tell you is the truth.
Okay.
So, which one of those things, when Neil deGrasse Tyson says we are stardust, is that objective truth, personal truth, or political truth?
That would be objective truth.
No, it wouldn't. Because you see, you can't test, observe, or repeat that.
You can't?
No.
Well, how would you test it in the first place?
You can't.
Okay.
Okay.
So
it may be the case. Listen, I'm going to show you how you're deceived. Okay. And by the way, when people buy into a paradigm or a dogma, they will even violate some of their own standards as long as they believe it's true. So when Neil deGrasse Tyson says that we're a stardust, what he's referring to is the belief that the universe is 13.7 billion years old, that the universe started in an explosion, the Big Bang, from what is putatively a singularity, and that certain stars formed over billions of years, and then some stars will explode, and then they will emit higher elements that previously had formed in the furnaces of stars, and then that would then coalesce into planets. And then when you have planets like the Earth, and then you have biology, that the higher elements end up in our bodies. That's not observable, testable, or repeatable. That's a materialistic retrodiction about the past, posing as science. We don't even know that higher elements can be forged in the furnaces of stars. There's reason to believe that some of the lower elements might be able to be forged in the furnaces of stars. But even if it were true, even if we were to agree that the intense heat and pressures of stars could form the higher elements, it wouldn't necessarily follow from that, because I have certain higher elements in my body that it was forged in the furnaces of stars. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Rather than the elements that are in my body right now, all right, from a biblical perspective, they weren't forged in the furnaces of stars. The elements that are on Earth right now, except for maybe some asteroids or stuff like that entered into Earth's orbit and landed on Earth, the higher elements were created by God in the first week of creation. Okay?
Yeah.
So people like Neil deGrasse Tyson are simply peddling naturalism and materialism and calling it science. All right, I'll be right back.
Okay.
Oh
my god.
I was gonna ask him a question. God damn it.
I actually want to continue this later on, because apparently he thinks that dinosaurs on the Ark.
Don't change or stop. Did you guys hear her in the background?
Yeah, I heard her.
What'd she say?
She just called for his name.
I thought.
Are you guys talking about me?
No.
Why don't you just say me? Like, why don't you just say my name instead of saying she like this?
What are you talking about?
Because we
Are
were
you
talking
okay?
about you.
What are you talking
Oh,
about?
okay. Never mind.
Is there something else going on that is connected to me?
I'm gonna have to ask him to explain why he thinks dinosaurs won the Ark. That's a new one.
Well, they would have been created at the same time as all the other creatures.
So yeah.
Oh, I see.
But if the
fake
if the
news.
dinosaurs were walking around, then mammals couldn't have, because dinosaurs were the predecessor to mammals. Because after the dinosaurs died, that's when the mammals became prominent.
Dinosaurs
also
weren't
happened-
actually real. They were a diversion God created.
So a couple of things. First of all, for the first couple hundred years of Earth's history, predation wasn't a thing. So all of these animals are just
there was
going
a
to keep
snake.
breeding rampantly.
Right? There was a snake in the Garden of Eden. I mean, what did it eat?
Yeah, but it wasn't a dinosaur like a T-Rex. It was just
No,
a
no,
snake.
no. I know it's not a dinosaur, but you said there wasn't predation. I mean, like snakes, you know.
Every creature was herbivorous until the fall,
Wait, but what about the snake?
including the snake.
The snake ate leaves?
Leaves, fruit, something. It was herbivorous before the fall.
So not only could it talk, but it was vegan.
Look, you're supposed to
Along with
interpret
every
that.
other animal at the time. There were vegan lions. Everything. There was no predation before the fall. Period. Full stop.
Look, Wizard, whenever you come across a weird part of the Bible, you just interpret figuratively, not literally.
Oh.
That's the trick. That's how you get past that.
You know what they should do? They should put those thought parts in a different font.
No, because then they would have to stick to that. Then they'd have to
that's a
stick
good
to
point.
that and not, yeah.
It should be like it's in italics. It's a parable.
The way the story in Genesis is written, though, there's no reason to take it as figurative. It's a genealogical account. The only reason the Hebrews write something in genealogical form is if they want to give a history of something.
Well,
So
I
it was
mean,
never
isn't
intended.
like the second third of Genesis like this person begat this person begat this person begat this person? I mean, that's pretty genealogical.
Chapter 3, it starts into the genealogy, and the genealogy starts with Adam, right? So it's a genealogical account from the get-go.
Man.
And when we look at the genealogies, when we look at the genealogies later in the Bible, when they go back to Adam, they'll say the son of Adam, the son of God. So Adam, it gives a clear progression from creation to Adam in that genealogy.
Are you a Christian?
Why did they so obviously make it up?
Are you a Christian? Did the